Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast, powered by the African American Marketing Association. Each week, we'll bring you an insightful conversation from some of the best experts in our industry on how to advance our career. Join the collective of Black marketers across the world, advancing their brand as we work towards creating a collaborative community.
Yes, sir. And welcome to a history-making edition of Marketing for the Culture, the podcast. I got so excited I can't even say the name of the podcast. You know, I'm your host, CL Palmer, and sitting next to me in the flesh, none other than Michelle Gomez.
Yeah,
right.
Back for the first time, like Luda.
Straight up, we right here coming live to you from ATL, Georgia.
Yeah.
And very excited, you know, because one thing about doing podcasts is now that, you know, especially since the pandemic, we don't get to do a lot of in-person podcasting. So to actually have the podcast come here and see if we have some actual chemistry, this is going to be a good experiment.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Atlanta's home. For those of you that don't know, I lived here. I went to high school here. So I moved to Houston in 2000 and then, I come back. So it feels good to be home and hanging out with my sister, old friends, new friends. So it's all good. It's all love. So I was like, why not get a session in?
Absolutely.
And see if we can do this on a regular.
Have you had some wings since you've been down here?
I have not had some wings.
That might be the mood tonight. Might have to get some wings. You know the wings don't hit like Atlanta. Like, tell the truth. I know you've been in Houston for a minute. Is there a wing place that's really touching these Atlanta wings?
Well, I guess I would have to be a wing person to begin with.
You don't eat wings? Hold on.
I do, but that's not like my go-to. I don't like crave wings.
You know, I mean, I'm not gonna be mad at you for not craving wings, but it's like, it's like a thing. You know,
it's funny though. It's like, I guess for me, when I think of chicken, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to Chick-fil-A, or maybe I'll go to Popeyes because I want some red beans and rice. But I'm not just like, oh, let me get some wings or something like that. And then I'll be on my health kick.
Okay, I feel you on that. That's true. Be healthy, being conscious and everything like that. That's a very good point. But Atlanta is just known for its wings.
I've heard about the lemon pepper and what's that? The Six Man. What's his name at the strip club?
Oh, you're talking about Lou Will.
Yeah, you know. So yeah, I hear the stories.
Right. So you go to Texas. I want some brisket. I want some barbecue. Things of that nature. And Atlanta just has become a place for the wing. And it might be a little JR Crickets in the actual Atlanta episode.
I've been to JR.
Bringing that to the collective consciousness.
It's been years, but I've been there before.
But gotta watch it. You gotta go to the ones in the city.
And see, that's why I gotta get here more often.
Yeah.
More often.
See, I guess it's been an evolution. Because when did you leave Atlanta?
I mean, I left as far as moving. I moved in 2000. So as soon as I graduated, I moved to Houston. But then, I would visit at least every year for a minute. The last time I was here was 2016, I believe.
Okay, so there definitely has been an evolution in the culture here. So, you're going to have to make your way back down here so you can get the full effect of what's going down here in the A.
I think since I've been here, so I got here Saturday, I'm leaving Wednesday. But I really want to get here, like, stay for a full week. Okay. Like a Sunday through Saturday or Sunday through Sunday. And really, be here, put some work in. I'm like, okay, what are the events? Line up some people and certain things. So I think that's what's going to be on my agenda. Okay. Probably in March, April-ish, I think might be my next go around here.
That's an interesting concept. Like I've been talking about myself going on tour, like basically coming to a lot of events, doing a bunch of, networking, speaking, whatever I can do, and kind of like mapping it out over a couple weeks or so. And that kind of sounds like what you're working on. You're trying to put something together like that.
That's what I would like to do. Whether it's one-on-one business events, an AMA networking event, attending other people's events, maybe attending someone else's podcast. Like I want to have the calendar stacked the next time I come here.
That's a good idea. I think the people need to get on board with something like that. I think because we do, just by nature of how much is going on, we tend to sometimes wait till the last minute to put things together. But just having a little bit more foresight into your activities, not only does it make it more fun, but you actually can be productive at the same time.
Right. Now, this was particularly for my sister's birthday. And the funny thing is, I'm actually talking to a company that's based here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And we're going back and forth in email, and part of me was like, do I want to ask for the meeting? Like, do I want to squeeze it in?
Let me just pull up real quick.
But I was like, nah, don't too much right now. And just this time of year, people are talking, but they're really not making decisions.
True.
So I was like, I don't even want to press the issue. But yeah, definitely moving forward. I'm like, hey, go ahead and sign on this dotted line.
And that's kind of interesting that you bring that up, and we might actually circle back around to that, because I think, especially as marketers, what we're trying to do at the end of the year, because we're still trying to get people to spend money with us in a variety of different ways, and kind of just how we handling that, and like what's the buying mode of anybody, because it could be all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on your audience and the price point. Like I have a high ticket item, so it takes 2-3 calls over 2-3 months sometimes.
You gotta get some authorization.
Yeah, so I'm very patient with it. But yeah.
No, but that's actually an interesting thing I had been thinking about, because I had been wanting to do a little bit of a marketing blitz, but I've been trying to figure out, do I want to set it up to go, straight from marketing to purchase, or if I'm going to do a little bit longer tail and see if I want to tail it to something that's a purchase down the road.
You can do both.
I thought about it, but it's, how those things are, they turn into work. At some point you're like, this sounds like work. I might have to spend some time on it. So I will cross that bridge when I'm ready.
Every idea sounds like work.
It does. Everything. But since I have you here, you've been actually doing a little traveling yourself. Now you come down here to Atlanta, but you actually just left Dallas for the Digital Summit.
Correct. I was in Dallas for a few days. The Digital Summit was Wednesday and Thursday, the 8th and 9th, if I'm not mistaken. AMA was a partner. We were a media partner, so we were promoting the event for about 2.5 months. And 3 members, including myself, went down there, up there, depending where you live, in Dallas. And we had a good time. It was a good conference. I don't know how many people they had in attendance, but I do feel like the place was packed. Okay. And I really enjoyed myself, and a lot of good feedback from the other members.
That's good. Anything in particular stick out about the conference?
Well, we are still needed, Black people.
Okay, this is coming up a lot. This is starting to turn into a thing. But
we are still needed in attendance as well as speakers. I do think the ratio may have been equal or slightly better than Content Marketing World, but it's also a much smaller conference. I do want to say, though, with Digital Summit, they do have a diverse set of organizers, and they actually travel to different cities. So they go to about 12 to 15 cities a year. They were in Atlanta earlier this year, so I don't want to, throw too much shade with them, but their conference setup is different than that's a little different.
Yeah. I could just say a higher difficulty, or the higher degree of difficulty, because you're doing it in, like you said, 12 to 15 cities, and basically trying to do the same thing. So you can't get all the same speakers to come to all the same ones. So that could be a challenge, just trying to keep it fresh every time you do one.
I can only imagine, like even today, as we're talking now, today and tomorrow they're in Charlotte, which obviously is going to be the last conference of the year. But I look, events make me nervous, so I can only imagine the pressure that they go through. But they have a great team. There were some things, they were replacing speakers. I know that based off of private conversations and stuff like that. But even the people that showed up, they delivered. Okay. So it was a great event. And the reason why I say we're needed, I attended, I want to say one session with a Black guy. I had a chance to meet. I've been following him for a while, Jonte Delane, very popular on Twitter. And then there was a couple of Indian women. One was from CNN, but she actually lives in Austin, which I thought was pretty cool. So they still need that diversity in the audience as well as on stage. And I felt like there was a lot of topics that were not discussed. A lot of the topics that were discussed were the typical social media, LinkedIn, email marketing. There was one on product marketing, how to sell to your customer, of course. Those were the common ones, but I didn't see anything on analytics. I didn't see anything on podcasting, affiliate marketing, public relations. Well, they had thought leadership. So I felt like there was a lot of topics that were not addressed. And I don't know the reason behind that, but that's what I mean when I say we are needed in these spaces, not just as a Black person, but as a Black expert. Go to the website, look at the agenda, look at the speakers. And if you feel like you have no competition, apply.
That's interesting. And I guess the thing that I hear when you mentioned the topics that they were speaking on were a lot of data-driven topics, but they didn't really get into analytics, which is kind of surprising for you to say that.
So that's a good point, right? Because every platform has their own dashboard, analytics dashboard. That's a good point. But I think about my brother, shout out to Chris West, he does training on Google Analytics. And
hit him up.
Yeah, so there was no training on that, but in conversation, it was like, oh, check your analytics, but if you're a newbie, you probably don't know how to check your analytics. You don't know how Google Analytics and Google Search Console works with your website and creating content and things of that nature.
Right.
And there was a lot of SEO too. So it's just little things like that where I do feel that the lane is wide open. And sometimes, especially if you want to speak and train, it's like, how can you tweak what you offer to fit the agenda for a conference or for someone else's program? So, for example, my thing right now is on inclusive marketing, diversity in marketing. And obviously, no one was talking about that. And I was like, man, I should have submitted.
It is what it is, though.
Yeah, I don't want to throw shade. I want to throw shade, but
but like you said, you did have a good experience just as an observer.
Yeah,
just so you can kind of
relax.
Just relax and just take everything in, and that let you see what you probably could be doing next.
Exactly, and even me, I'm like, man, I really need to work on my slide game because some people have some really beautiful, creative slides. So, always here to learn. Never too big to learn from anyone.
I got some of the most fire looking slide templates ever don't really use them at all. Man. I need to start.
Some of these people, I was like, okay, y'all slide game strong. Okay.
We get this affiliate game. I'll start dropping these services and I will make my recommendations. But no free promo. We're not doing that today. But that's kind of dope. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. I wanted to be there, but I already kind of knew how my schedule was going to be. And then had my dad come visit because he decided he wanted to look for a house. And I'm just kind of I ain't gonna say it was last minute, but I already had kind of forgot by the time he got here, or when he was on the way. But yeah, that And then, I still wasn't feeling that great. So I probably was better off in the house. But I want to try to make the Atlanta one and then come down there to Dallas and see if we can, sparse up some new minds. Because like you said, it's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to marketing. We say that almost every week, whether it's, like you said, affiliate podcasting. It's so much.
So much to cover.
I'm gonna say, anybody stick out to you? Any particular presentation? Anybody want to shout out? No, shout out to the whole digital summit team.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me going into 2022, I'm really focused on thought leadership.
Okay.
So they had a company called Expert Press. So I enjoyed that lady's presentation. Greg Gifford, he's a big SEO expert. He's based in Dallas area as well. I try to see him speak every year. He's really, really good when it comes to SEO. He did a 4-hour masterclass.
Really?
Like nonstop. I missed some of it because I had a prior engagement, but he's really good when it comes to SEO. There's this one guy, I didn't hear him speak, but I don't remember the title of his presentation, but later on I heard he was talking about NFTs. And had I known that, I would have attended.
Yeah.
And his name is Carlos Gil. Shout out to him. So I'm going to try to have him on the podcast or involved with Alma next year. He has a really good story and he knows his stuff.
Yeah, I want to hear from him because I was listening to this whole marketing podcast and your boy Joe be talking about the NFTs he involved with. And now that he's about to start an event where you can buy a forever ticket.
Wow.
That's an NFT.
Oh, gosh.
I was like, yo.
This stuff is getting wild.
Yeah. The ceiling is very high on what's capable because you can offer a relationship and an experience. It's really about to change the game.
I need to get my money up.
For real. Like, we start buying some of this ether or whatever the hell this shit called. I mean, it's like we really need to start getting into that.
I need to get my money up.
Absolutely. All right. So we don't have anything else to add. I guess we could take a real quick break and then we can talk about some of these little marketing trends, news. Welcome back to Marketing for the Culture podcast. Still a little cold open. We might try a little something different for y'all. But we are here live in person once again. Your boy CL Palmer and Michelle Gomez. And this is also brought to you by Alma. Everybody out there, go support.
Yes.
Keep giving. Need what? You got PayPal, credit card. Are you taking Venmo and Cash App too?
All of the above. Give to the giving campaign.
We out here. However you need to get it to us. I mean, even if it's like some EBT, you know what I'm saying? You could buy some snacks for the kids too. We'll donate that for you. However you can do it. We shout out. But I guess while you here, we could do a little Michelle doing a little diversity with Michelle moment. That's what we're gonna call it.
Okay.
And I was looking around on the interwebs, and I kind of picked up on a few things in my head. I'm a kind of a curious person, and of course, us Black people, we have had checker pass with certain brands. And in this case, we're going to talk about Tommy Hilfiger and Papa John's. Now, not really any secrets about what happened with both of the companies, but the thing that has happened in recent history is they have really gotten behind brown people.
Yes.
Papa John's most notably has Shaq front and center. I mean, even put his name on a pizza.
DJ Shaq.
I mean, Shaq do everything. Shaq has a video game called Shaq Fu. If you never played it on Sega Genesis, I suggest you go try it. It wasn't that bad. He has albums, The General.
The Renaissance man, indeed.
He got printers.
Early Google investor.
Yo, Shaq that guy when it comes to endorsements, but he's now in almost I want to say an equity partner in Papa John's, which is why you see his face so much. And I think it has helped because I was really off Papa John's before the whole thing happened. It was more about how it tasted. And of course, depending on where you live. Now, of course, there might be some, you might say, well, my Papa John's was never bad. You can have that. I had terrible experiences. I was off of it anyway. But it almost seems like when they brought Shaq in, they was like, you know what, we're going to get this pizza together too.
Right.
And it has been pretty good. Now, on the flip side of things, Tommy Hilfiger has some not so great things. And in the words of one great Chad Butler, we on that polo after that Hilfiger. And pretty much around that time, we've been strictly on Ralph Lauren. If you look around in the neighborhood, we were big on polo and not so much on Tommy. But the times have changed. And Tommy has a big BIPOC thing that they have going on right now. It's called the Fashion Frontier, which if you look at some of their finalists, about 4 out of the 6 were all people of color. Mm-hmm. And so they're really stepping up to make it a point that they know that we're behind everyone. Yeah. And everyone is accepted. So with all that said, how do we know that we can really trust these brands in the first place? Like, can we ever get back, or is this just like the boyfriend that you decided to take back that cheated on you, but he was like, you know what, it wasn't that bad, but you still just got like one eye
in the meantime,
in between time? Like, how do they successfully recover in trying to be diverse, because you can't survive right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. So I will say Black people and people of color, communities of color, this is definitely our time, right? Yes. So before we can get to the trust part, if these opportunities are presented, we need to take full advantage of it.
Okay.
Like, this is not about trust at this time.
Right.
This is about, you see and know about the opportunity, you need to apply.
Got you.
I don't care what it is, internship, fellowship, contest, jobs. If you know about it, apply, share those resources to your peers, right? Because the thing is, a lot of us are already experienced, skilled, we qualify, we just don't know.
Right.
So now that we know, we need to take full advantage of that, right? So now fast forward to answer your question about the trust. I actually think the trust is going to come over time, right? So what's going to happen 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now? Are you still keeping this contest alive? Are you still keeping or growing in the rate of hiring Black people and people of color? Right? Are you enhancing your company culture and engagement and the things that you do for your employees?
That experience.
And, supplier, and all of these things. Now, if you're stagnant and you're declining, obviously there's a lack of trust. Obviously there's systems that are broken within your company, or you're just not as serious, or you're like, oh, well, we did this for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. We're good. And it's like, no. And that's something I experienced last year. My client, they hired another marketing agency to do their creative. So I was acting as the liaison. And a white lady on the PR side, she was like, well, it's been a while since George Floyd died, so I think things are dying down. And I was like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. And the crazy thing is, the day we had this Zoom meeting, and forgive me, I forgot this brother's name, but a guy in LA, he had a gun on him, but he was riding his bike. His back was towards the police, and the police shot him. And I told her, I said, this just happened today. Like, happened last night, came out in the news today. So that's the thing. It's like, Black people are constantly dying due to police brutality.
Right. George
Floyd just made the news, or the nationwide news. Right. So no, nothing's dying down. And not when I'm around either. Because I want to make it be known. And literally dead face. And I was like, that's the problem. Like, and not just, white people, but sometimes even us, we get comfortable, we get lax.
Yeah.
So, and I really feel like employees have to hold these companies accountable because they're working. They know more than we do if we're spending our money or not. But yeah, Black people of color, take advantage of all of these opportunities and resources that are out there. If they have, for whatever their intentions are, they're trying to get us, go for it.
Okay. So I'm going to try to sum everything up from what you just said. So for one, if they're offering any leg up, definitely take it.
Amen.
And I know some people don't like to say, quote unquote, get in bed with certain companies or whatever, or they don't want to sell part of their company or their whatever they create it. But also recognize that if you actually want to grow at a substantial rate, that sometimes you have to give a little to get a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important caveat to throw in there too. And then I feel like you're also saying that these companies can't just be trying to buy their diversity. They're really going to have to put the work in order for it to become something where people look at you in a positive light all the time. Absolutely.
Because diversity and inclusion has to be sustainable.
Okay.
Yeah, it can't be short term. It has to be sustainable. And I think we're really going to know that 3, 4, 5+ years from now.
Let's say, let's like Amazon, for example. Amazon is like one of the biggest companies right now. But we don't actually know the ins and outs of their diversity problem. But I'm sure if it's anything like any other ginormous company, that there's probably some back things that probably need to get fixed.
Right.
If they were to come out and say, yo, Michelle, we want to make sure that the workplace is set up the correct way, what you think we need to make sure is the first thing we do?
Yeah. So with Amazon, that's a really tough example because there's so many negative comments about their warehouse workers. Right. So we have the warehouse, and then we have independent contractors, and then we have corporate. Right. So there's a couple of ways to tackle it. And Amazon's a big company, and I've had some communication with them. But I would really say, what are the employees complaining about the most? And can that be solved? Right. And I'm sure it can be.
Right.
So what are the options? How many solutions can we create to solve these problems? Instead of 16 hours, can we do 12 hours? Can we do 10 hours? Can you present those options to the employees? Can you create flexible schedules? One thing I talk about often, a lot of companies on their website, they'll say, I call them features and benefits, right? All of these perks. But what we're coming to realize, especially with the pandemic, is your perks does not mean that it's equitable to the employee. Right? So one of the examples I say, if you have a 40-year-old single woman, she might be okay working 45, 50 hours a week because she wants the bag. Right. But if you take another woman that's 40 years old and she's married and has 1 or 2 kids, she may want a flexible schedule. She may want to work from home 3 times a week.
Okay.
And she's willing to take maybe a $5,000 to $10,000 pay cut because of that flexibility. Right. So that's what we're talking about when it comes to equity. Like, what are you presenting to your employees, new hires, internal, whatever, to be like, okay, I want to work here. I want to apply, and I want to stay here. So trying to provide solutions and not just be like, oh, well, what can we come up? Oh, free soda for everyone. Like
that's not helping me on my bottom line right now. That's not improving my quality of life.
I could bring a soda and bottle of water from home, a couple of bottles, and be good within my 8 hours. What are we really talking about here?
You know, that's a great point. That's those what you call those benefits. I like how you say features and benefits because it sounds more like a product than it does a job.
Yeah.
And that's I see that a lot because sometimes they do offer things that just don't add up to what a person might actually need. And I think about some of, you know, people that's close to me in their job situations, and they don't really give them an option to have a life and a family. And it's making them want to move on.
Yes.
And so, of course, we can go to the bottom line, which is y'all just need to out here just start paying people. But for the most part, if we just going to be talking about how do we get people to stay in,
right,
we want to make sure that people have a reason to stick around in the first place.
I mean, and I'm working on a white paper right now talking about the 5-point framework to inclusive marketing. And as marketers, we're taught, like, what are your pain points? What's the customer's pain points? But are we asking our employees what their pain points are? You know, how are we engaging our employees? Because the engagement you have, the employee engagement is a direct correlation to company culture. So what kind of culture are you creating? I can go on and on about this.
I know, but this is why I wanted to have this little fireside chat with you.
Yeah,
because this is a good topic for you to talk on, and I can kind of get educated because you know I'm a diverse person myself, but I also like to get educated when I'm out here talking about, you know, what businesses need to do, and that's a very easy thing, and I feel like it probably just doesn't come up enough. So
not at all.
Not surprised about that. Trying to think. I guess we could take a real quick break, or if you had anything else you want to add on that. Any other quick tips you want to give out here to the
Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my 5-point framework.
All right. We're going to get an exclusive.
Yeah.
Like I need some imaging, but I don't have it.
So number 1 is the content. Okay, so what kind of content are you creating? 2, it's the candidates, right? So how are you marketing the candidates? 3, it's the coworkers, right? So everything I kind of mentioned, how are you appealing to coworkers, employee engagement, company culture? 4 is the consumers.
Okay.
Everyone's already doing that. Whether B2B, B2C, you're already marketing to your consumers. And then 5 is the community. How are you marketing to community, brand awareness? Tommy Hilfiger is actually a good example of that because that hits on a couple of different points, but it's the community because it's going outside. They're attracting people outside of their employees as well as their consumers for the most part, right? So how are you marketing to actually those 4 things? But we know content is the cornerstone of marketing, right? So what kind of content are you creating to engage those 4 categories?
That's very well put. And I would be ready to read that white paper if you told me about that. Because I feel like the internal marketing at a job is usually very poor. I've worked in a couple retail environments, and you know they do some things to try to help, but I don't think they really understand what people actually need,
right?
Like sometimes, or what they need to hear, because you know you walk in there, you just feel like you coming in here and they're gonna use me as much as they can for the next 4 to 8 hours, and then you're not really gonna care what's gonna happen before or after.
But things are changing.
I see it though.
Things are changing.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about that resignation, but I seen something interesting about the Great Resignation that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that, and then we can get up out of here.
Okay.
And we are back. Welcome back to Marketing for the Culture, a special live and in the flesh edition. For the first time in recorded history, we are doing this podcast, me, myself, CL Palmer, and Michelle Gomez from the always inclusive African American Marketing Association.
Yes.
We want to invite everyone to become a member, even if you don't identify as a marketer. A lot of people do, but some people don't realize that they are marketers. And one of the things that I would like to work on in 2022 is getting people to know if you make content, you're a marketer.
Yes.
If you monetize anything, you are doing marketing.
Yes.
Period. Whether it's experience, whether that's trying to reach an audience, you are doing some type of marketing.
Yes. Because you're sharing it on social media.
Exactly. And they're all marketing platforms.
Right.
So
you can't escape it.
You can't. It's a thing. Like just get comfortable with it. All right. So before we took our last break, I wanted to talk about the Great Resignation.
Yeah.
People out here just quitting their jobs, like throwing the deuces at their old bosses. And one of the things that I came across while listening to some other podcasts was this article in the Insider. I believe the young woman's name is Gwen Aviles, and she titles the article "The So-Called Great Resignation Isn't a Reality for Many Workers of Color." Mm-hmm. And the article basically goes into, people have a lot of different things that motivate them to work, whether it's student debt, family life, or just not being in the class of privilege where you could take a year off and live at your parents' house and while you try to figure out your business or content platform or whatever it is.
Right.
And it also gets into how this whole social media content creation thing is presented as you could just quit your job, start making videos, and then all of a sudden you're going to become a money-making machine. But in reality, it's some work. It's a lot of work, and you don't make a lot of money the first 3 years. You're probably making content for the most part. And, it even mentions one of the creators who's quit her job and now looking to get back into the corporate environment, which, I wish it would happen faster for her, but it's just a part of the process. So, if it's something that you want to jump out here and do, you just got to be prepared and have a foundation. And people like us aren't really that privileged to do so. So, just real quick, you have any kind words for everybody out here that would love to quit their job right now and say F their boss in these toxic workplaces?
I have quit my job several times. I am part of the Great Resignation. But what I've learned early on is there's never a right time to quit your job. There's never a right time to start anything, particularly quote unquote business content creation. So I get it because one, I'm a single woman, right? Although I don't have any kids, I have bills, I have student loans, I have debt, right? So a lot of women or a lot of people, they're in a single check household. Maybe they're taking care of kids, maybe taking care of older parents. It just kind of depends. I think lots of times we look at people and they're like, oh, they're making money, but you don't know what their expenses are.
Right.
I have a friend, she has a great salary, but her dad has cancer and she's paying those medical bills. Right. Like, you're not going to see that on social media. You're not, so it's like, you don't know what people are going through.
This is true.
And thank God she's very fortunate to take on that responsibility, but you just don't know what people are going through. Right. So definitely have some empathy towards that. But I would encourage people to, one, start looking for a job. Even if you can't quit, how can you create a smooth transition for yourself, right? And kind of goes back to what I said earlier. What does equity look like for you? Do you need that flexible schedule?
Right.
Do you need that job that's offering hybrid? Do you need that job that says, hey, COVID's here, we're never going back to the office?
Yeah.
Right. And can you be honest and productive while you work from home for an employer and then create your content? So I would just encourage people to create a plan, a transition plan into a new job, into your business / content creation, because it's not easy. And if you can do 2 things at one time, maybe you quit your job once your business income matches or exceeds your employer, your check. You know, it's a process. And look, I say this, entrepreneurship is hard. It's not for the faint of heart. And corporate America is just as hard. You have to pick your difficulty.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I will say for me personally, it's just gotten to the point where it's just not feasible for me to have a job, because I'm doing enough with my business where in order for me to either consider a job, it has to be enough to take on my daycare and compensate me as well, because I will not be working for daycare.
Yeah.
That is not that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be giving someone my check. So until I can find something that lines up with my availability and my cost of living, it's not even going to work with me. But I am fortunate, you know, and I also recognize that I have put, you know, a good 10 years into right now, even though I haven't been making the money for 10 years. I've been, you know, sharpening this axe and trying to get things to work. So I have a lot of experience, so I know what to do, what not to do. And I think people right now are coming into a point where they're trying things for the first time. And there's a learning curve that people should be more familiar with before they just jump out here and say, I'm going to start a business. Oh, go ahead.
No, I agree. I think that's the thing. Like, even when we leave college or whatever, we usually get paid for our learning curves.
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, content creator, no one's paying you for your learning curve.
Right. Right. You're just doing it for free.
So, I mean, that's a hell of a transition. I think another thing is really figure out what kind of schedule you want, because people will be like, oh, well, only if I had more time. Sometimes if you have too much time, you get lazy.
This is true.
Because you'll be like, oh, I'll get to it. I'll go. Yeah, let's go to lunch. Let's go. Oh, guilty. Yeah. Guilty. Right. So really try to keep that structure. And that's why I was saying, you know, create a transition plan so you know how to navigate these free waters once you get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. That time becomes very, very granular. You know, somehow it just can slip through your hands. Mm-hmm. And you're like, man, what happened? Like, where did my day go? Yeah. And I know exactly where you're coming from with that. And I would say that, especially for us, you know, finding the right opportunities for employment usually we have to make like a sacrifice in the beginning to say, okay, I'm not going to take a job that's involving X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to be subject to X, Y, and Z. You know, for one, it's real life. And then two, the employers have not come around to the concept that they need to be more flexible, like you were talking about earlier, you know, offering more equity. And I think that's always going to be a rub point, because, you know, we get to a point where we don't feel like things will change. Right. And we'll just give in. Yeah. And it's hard to be complacent, but it's almost built into the structure.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that.
Oh my God. Russ just dropped his new album, Chump 2. And the brother has a bar on there, and he was just like, basically whatever these companies pay you, that salary is, they're paying you to forget your dreams. So don't let that be the case. Follow your dreams, and hopefully you can transition into it full time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to see everybody to keep their dreams alive. And I also feel that most people need to be realistic.
Oh, yeah.
And think about what they could do marginally, and then think about what they could do at the highest level. Like, see all the different levels. And I think it'll be easier for you to fathom what this could be.
Yes.
Because if it's something that you're looking to make $1 million on, then you might be starting too high. Not to say that it can't get there.
It's gonna take a while.
But it's like, can you build this to 50,000, 100,000, so on and so forth. So, it's a process, and I just hope that we can just get a little bit more equality while everybody out here quitting their jobs. I know Black parents don't be paying rent like that. So I know we just gotta kind of suffer that one, but it is what it is. Yeah. But Michelle, I know you have some engagements to get to. Little technical difficulties, but getting up out of here. So you having last word? Anything you want to let everybody know before you get up out of here back in these ATL streets?
Shout out to Bartok for allowing us to record here.
Yes, shout out.
And shout out to you for listening. And we still have the giving campaign going on. We're currently around $6,000. The goal is 20. Be happy if we get to 10. So if you can give, please visit our website, aa-ma.org/giving-campaign. Donate your $20, if not more. And let's keep the culture going.
Yes. We need to grow marketing as a cultural conversation.
That sounds like a tagline.
It is.
Like,
I just came up with that on the spot. I know I gotta be dropping them bars sometime. But yeah, that's what we are trying to do. So AMA is wanting to be a catalyst for the community, and I believe in what we're trying to put together.
Absolutely.
So, please give a little, help the folk out, because we out here. But that is going to do it for this edition of Marketing for the Culture. Once again, we appreciate everybody out here listening, watching. Please come to the website, come show us some love, follow us on all the social media platforms. I am at CL Pie Gang. This is at Michelle Gomez. And we are out here. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Marketing for the Culture podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe, whether it's on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And of course, our videos are on YouTube. If you have a moment, feel free to give us a rate, review, or just comment. We appreciate our sponsors for their continuous support. Also, if you're interested in learning more about our sponsors or becoming a member of the African American Marketing Association, visit aa-ma.org.